Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download.
So I'm from rural Vermont, and it's funny you mentioned the doing these things in liberal cities as opposed to more rural places. Vermont is probably a lot like Oregon. It looks like Oregon a bit, but we're armed to the teeth. And I'll tell you, if you walk up to somebody with something that looks like a gun in a grocery store parking lot, the chances of that person packing heat are pretty good. If you're talking about the fall around deer season, the grandmothers
these days, same here.
All right, so you don't.
Same here.
I was trained from a young age. You don't go on people's land. You don't get aggressive with people because you'll get lead poisoning real easy. That's not to say we have very, 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 very low crime as a result. It's interesting though that they're doing this kind of thing of we're going to walk around with and mace people and have firearm like weaponry. That might be indistinguishable in the dark, and then and I'm not the FBI. I don't want to speculate.
And it was dark, and there's no way when a guy's pointing something at you, you have no idea knowing whether it's a gun, a stick, whatever. You have no idea. You just know that somebody's pulling a weapon on you, and especially if you have training, experience, are a vet, or a security guard, or any of those things, you are going to respond pretty darn quick.
Yep.
Because it's in your DNA.
That's the whole point.
I know this for a fact because I can respond pretty damn quick in a dark situation. Trust me. So that's what I saw here. He was pretty quick on the trigger, but that's from training. That's he didn't get. He hit the dude center mast.
Yeah, that's not.
That wasn't luck
in a high pressure situation.
So there's lots of still
in a high pressure situation in the dark.
The investigation is going to have to continue here, and we'll figure out more about that shooting. But I want to just expand a little bit out of this. So the one thing that people have been pointing out is that there is a similarity, and I thought originally this was far-fetched, but it isn't really, between the trucks that ISIS uses in the Middle East and the trucks that these Trump guys are using in all these events. Because they all have the same, they're just pickup trucks, of course, but, the flags coming off the back of them, the weapons being waved in the air. It's not dissimilar. And them all being, as a caravan, traveling together as a caravan is another indicator.
There was a picture of the Trump trucks going down whatever street it was, long line. And then they put the ISIS long line right next to it.
Yeah.
Does that look familiar? The Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, the Al-Qaeda. I remember you saying that. So if you're trying to start create a perception that you're starting sort of an insurgency in a country, you might look at other playbooks from other parts of the world, and you might look at ISIS as a potential place to study from. In fact, you might have experience in setting up some of those insurgencies in other parts of the world, and you might use that same playbook.
Just might have,
insurgencies in the United States.
And you ever see Al Qaeda's uniform? A bunch of the guys that just happen to be a 1-to-1 match to the Russian summer season regular military uniforms. Yeah,
interesting. And we say the Russians because the Russians, this is sort of their deal. The Russians have had a long history of playing this kind of game everywhere, whether it's Ukraine or Georgia or the Middle East or now in the United States. And it's this guy.
Well, for the United States, let's look at the NRA.
Yeah, right, the NRA, exactly. So Gerasimov is their chief, the head of their army, or I think he was, maybe still is the head of their army. He came up with this thing called the Gerasimov's principles, or doctrine at least, and it's based on these principles. And he describes this as a hybrid war, which is when you use special operations forces and internal opposition to create a permanently operating front throughout the entire territory of the enemy state, as well as informational actions, devices, and means that are constantly being perfected. So the stuff I've got highlighted there, you've got special operational forces, which is could be the Green Beret guys who attacked Ukraine, or could be some of these guys that are marching through our streets right now. Internal opposition, sure, they've got a lot of that building up tension between both sides. Antifa and the boys, the Proud Boys, or Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter. And then they've got a permanent operating front is what we'll describe it as, which is interesting because it really is. It would be that if you could control that whole set of groups, you'd have a pretty interesting front.
They did it.
If you had
Here's
like
here's
a horse
here's the
shoe.
deal. Here's how they did it.
Go ahead.
Here's how they did it. They did the NRA. We all know this. Just like they did Facebook, just like they did Fox News. The Russians did all three of those. So we know this. Okay, use the NRA to push, especially them and the Koch brothers, to push this Second Amendment. They're going to take your guns crap. And they've been pushing that for years and years and years, especially with Obama. They pushed it for 8 straight freaking years that Obama's going to take your guns. They're going to take your guns. They're going to take your guns. So they scared the shit out of these people. Now the Proud Boys and people like Patriot Prayer kind of took advantage of that. And part of these groups is the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers. Mm-hmm. Now the 3%ers are, you know what they are. They're big Second Amendment. Don't take my guns. We're going to defend ourselves. Blah blah blah. This is what this is all about. This is the tool that they use to get all this division. And then they use the black people as the excuse or the reason why we need guns, and they need to be done.
That's the internal opposition.
Sorry to say that, but hey, sometimes reality kind of bites.
Well, can we talk about Ferguson a little bit?
That's why they took over Black Lives Matter. That's why they took over Ferguson's Black Lives Matter.
And so, Eric,
we know the Russians took that. Black Lives Matter is a great organization, and it started under very good pretenses: police violence against black people. Well, Russia comes in and steals it and starts making it into all kinds of other shit. Besides that, so they stretched it all the way to all these other issues. So they kind of put that in the lump with the Second Amendment, and the black people are all causing all the crimes and all the problems and all the city, all the democratic cities, and Portland's tore up because of all the black people in downtown and blah blah blah. Which is kind of funny because there's hardly any black people that live down. They live northeast Portland, away from here, like miles away from here.
So I live in St. Louis, and I've been here since since before the Ferguson events of 2014 and beyond. And I can't attribute to any particular nation state outside of knowing that the Russian intelligence services did amplify content online, certainly, and I know that there were foreign agents on the ground here. That's been reported. But I'll just tell you, in general, you just had such an influx of people who were not from St. Louis, and they codenamed this Ferguson. Well, Ferguson's a 17,000 person municipality in the greater St. Louis County, St. Louis City area of 1.5 million. And, are there black neighborhoods? Absolutely. North St. Louis, East St. Louis, and swaths of North County tend to have a higher population of African Americans compared to other parts of the St. Louis metro area. Ferguson's actually quite mixed, and it's not. They tried to make it look like it was a war zone. They always came at night. You could take Disneyland, lob in some tear gas, and put one guy throwing a can of soup, and it's going to look like Sarajevo in '95, right?
Soup.
Portland is on fire, for instance.
I would go drive around while all the Ferguson stuff was happening. I would go drive around there and take pictures of here's the city park with the slide down into the pool. Ooh. But they would go and they'd get like 3 angles of one street, and they're like, St. Louis is on fire. It's like, well, come on out here. It's not, and we were getting the same situation you
right.
are, but talking to people who are actually part of the activist community here and who, have a very, very serious set of, reasonable, concerns about reform of the local justice system, the role of the police, economic tensions, who know the area, who live here, and, their stuff is based on reality. They're not ideologues. They're like, hey, I'd like to not get pulled over 9 times in a month for going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, and then being transferred between 7 jails because you guys invented a parking ticket that I actually paid 2 years ago. That's the kind of stuff that is getting criticized in St. Louis. Ferguson happens, or rather, Darren Wilson shoots Michael Brown. He's on the ground for 4 hours. The Ferguson Police Department particularly riles up the local population to Ferguson, not all of St. Louis, but the people were on Canfield Drive having a memorial for Michael Brown. This did not get reported well enough at all. They had candles and stuffed animals where his body had laid, and the neighbors came and they were just being present and having a vigil there. And the Ferguson police came by with their SUVs and canine units and told everyone to go home. And that is what caused the riot, or not the riot, that's what caused the unrest when they drove through the candles and cards and all that on the way out. It was almost like they were trying to provoke something. It was the absolute worst thing you could do.
Is that right?
That's 2014.
2014, sorry.
That's 2014. And so then you get some people going, we've had it. These guys started ramping up the amount of tickets they were getting on us and pulling us over in the street. The amount of money that they started taking out of the local population in just Ferguson went from $1 million to $3 million inside of 3 years. So they tripled the amount of activity that they were doing, harassing
pressured the local community
that's all.
That way. Interesting. And it's interesting, 2015 that's built into the timeline. It's, if 2015 is the Proud Boys and the Trump campaign launching, it's interesting to see those things in connection. 2016,
2017, we're big. We're big.
Yeah. Early 2014. So the late 2013, Trump goes and does Miss Universe Moscow, right? He comes back, and for the first time on radio, I believe, he says, after everybody's rioting and in the streets and this place has all gone to hell, they're going to be begging us to make America great again. That was about February, March of 2014, I believe. The events of Ferguson happened in August of 2014. And you have these initial acts. You have an officer-involved shooting. It's not the only of its kind. It's pretty ugly. Things happen like I believe the medical examiner, quote, didn't have batteries in his camera, which isn't, there's other ways to take images these days. So that was weird. There's a lot of things that are still under investigation, I come to understand. And then you had some local police response, and then all of a sudden you have a local protest. We're going to go down with this is the kind of thing protest is for. No, that was uncool, guys. And then you have all of the people come in for everywhere. And then, somebody goes and gets DHS federal equipment of mine resistant, troop transports and sniper rifles. And instead of doing all the things that anyone in either the police or the armed forces, anybody who's ever been as a peacekeeping force knows that you do not do with firearms in a crowd full of civilians, because you will cause an uprising. They do exactly the opposite of when everyone's trained. Almost like they knew what the training was. They were just doing the things that would be the worst possible. And then you've got some folks who are coming in from out of town who are going to block the highway, and you got somebody burns an AutoZone and things that are not when you have just the locals.
Hey, my umbrella man. And when he first did that, I jumped right on that and said, "This is an op," and turns out it was.
Yeah,
it was part of the beginning of the. Oh yeah, the umbrellas have become a big thing, and we get them a lot here in Portland. It's the agitators.
And so why call them umbrellas?
Apparently they carry.
Well, it's a symbol. Okay. Remember the whole story about Chamberlain and Hitler and the umbrella. Actually, the umbrella is a sign of appeasement. Correct. It was a symbol. It became a symbol of appeasement. As they say. Well, these guys kind of hijacked the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Well, these guys, whatever the reasons were, whatever you believe on that, it doesn't really matter. These guys hijacked the umbrella as a symbol of appeasement. So they use it as a signal to their buddies to start causing problems.
And it's
once the umbrellas go up,
towards Chamberlain,
the shit begins.
Hitler for references, because that's very, very American.
I know it is strange, and I just put that connection because of the.
Oh, that's a great one.
We could also the umbrella man at the Kennedy's assassination too, if you want. I mean, what the heck?
I mean, they're common items, but if you're a Russian handler, I'm not saying that these guys are directly being handled by somebody from the SVR or anything like that. But if you're way back, if you're the one-star general and you're coming up with the idea, right? That's the kind of crap that the like Russian intelligence loves. Those symbols that you're talking about of the Chamberlain. It's like the Nazi.
Oh, they love symbolism.
British. Oh yeah.
So symbolism is their key. We all know this.
That's a good segue to this thing. So you mentioned Artem Kalushik earlier, and I'm ruining his name, and I don't care. Artem is a...
Lyceum.
Well, this is his post from the other day. just before Portland blew up. And Artem is, for people who don't know, he's sort of Donald Trump's whisperer, Russian whisperer on Twitter. He basically predicts what Donald Trump is going to do a day or 2 weeks in advance. Donald Trump suddenly magically does that.
No. He don't predict shit.
Yeah.
He don't predict a goddamn thing.
Yeah. He's a, well, he tells it.
I have the same boss.
And so, Artem works for both Putin and the UAE, which is also interesting. And he posts all these controversial and sometimes provocative tweets. And this came out just after Kenosha and just before Portland. And it says, as you can say, enjoy the show. And there's an anonymous guy. And of course, that reference of the Bible is the same thing. We pull it up here because it's here. Is the same way that Donald Trump held the Bible outside on June 1st. Symbolism.
No, really,
everybody.
Now, don't forget the burning of the Bible's in Portland either. Yeah. Don't forget that.
Oh, right, interesting.
That was also a Russian op.
What happened in the Bible?
They had a big old burn. They were burning stuff in here, and somehow RT, or I believe it was Rupley, got the picture. And they shared it all over the place trying to say that Oregon was burning Bibles, and that's what Antifa's doing. They're downtown, they're tearing up the federal building, and they're burning Bibles, and they're going to destroy all of God and everything, and we got to stop them. It was bullshit. It was fake. There was no Bible thrown in the fire. It was just like any other Photoshop bullshit that we see. Well, there was no burning of Bibles in Portland.
And so then the next thing he does is he sends out this ridiculous thing, and I've got a video of this where he's like basically doing a James Bond, Dr. Evil kind of thing in a car. And
yeah, I saw that too.
Backwards. And I can't even read what it says here because it's writing is so small on the computer. But in
God we trust. I work harder than God. If he had hired me, he would have made the world by Thursday. Nazi sign for guys.
Well done. You've got a calling there. And just to drive it home, he has a little message for Adam Schiff. Do you want to do this?
Live with that image the rest of your life of a big mouth, a slippery Schiff.
Ta-da.
I just can't. I'm just shut.
Yeah.
Just can we shut them off from the New York banking, please? Can we have them
significant?
I mean, just enough.
So this is the kind of crap.
I remember when this jerk used to follow me.
We're not just dealing with a local uprising when you're seeing all these stories, and you're not dealing with a spontaneous uprising that's happening in black communities against the suburbs. That is not happening. What's happening is a Russian effort, or Russian plus others effort, to destabilize the United States. And anyone who is in their right mind looking at the events that are happening in the world right now would know that it benefits Donald Trump for that fear to grow. The more that fear is heightened and the more incidents we have, the more Donald Trump does.
Did not Kellyanne say it the best?
Yeah, good.
Did not Kellyanne Conway say it the best?
What did she say?
He needs the chaos. The chaos helps him. So he does this on purpose. She admitted it. She just did it just a few days ago. She admitted it straight up that he does this shit on purpose because it works.
It's the Russians as well. And anyone who thought Russia...
Well, no, he's got a whole apparatus behind him and the Russians. And he's got North Korea, and he's got Iran, and everybody else chipping him. Let's not forget China. They throw their shit in here, too.
Yeah.
China is really big here in Portland.
So
China is big. As a matter of fact, China and the Saudis are big here in Portland.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Huh. Russia, China, Saudis. Weird.
Oh,
absolutely. Like an alliance of some sort.
Oh, absolutely. The Saudis were Sondland and the president of the Portland State University, with which there's a connection there. The Saudis were coming here and going to school, and this was about 3 years ago. They were coming for 2 summers. I've got pictures of all their cars, which were awesome hot rods, by the way. Mm-hmm. But the Saudis were all over Portland for a long time, and then one of the Saudi kids wound up killing a female pedestrian, ran her over, killed her, and he went to court, and the Saudis actually came to Portland, grabbed him off the steps of the courthouse, and took him out of this country. Within 2 months, all of the Saudis that were going to school here were gone.
I remember reading about that. That's really interesting.
So they were going to school here for a couple of years.
What we need to do is get this.
And this was all from the royal family.
because I think that there is a situation here where people are actually frightened. Really, people are very, very fearful of the chaos that's happening in the country. Some people are legitimately fearful of the chaos that they're seeing. Some people are fearful of the fact that Donald Trump may stay in power because of that. But everyone's genuinely terrified of what the potential might be. And the thing is, it's just an op. It's like play theater. It's not really happening. It's just a bunch of guys driving around in trucks, waving flags and waving weapons around. The black
Why do you
communities are
think
not
they
up
show
in
up with
arms against the white community and are not coming after the suburbs? They're not doing that. They are just living their lives in the suburbs with their white neighbors, and they don't care about all this other stuff. This is not their priority. What's coming in and heightening it all up is
well,
Roger
they do have
Stone,
a legitimate
boys. It's all these other guys that are joining in and heightening up the tension. It's an op. It's an image.
It's an op.
Pull it apart.
It's an op.
Yeah.
It's an op.
You can see it from
Why do you think they came with paint guns?
Right. It's paint guns.
They came with paint guns to fight a war.
Yeah.
Paint guns. They put the fear in you. They're going to bring all these AR. They're going to bring all these guns. They're going to bring all these weapons. They're going to do all this damage. They're going to protect the city, and they come with paint guns.
Right.
You know what?
They put the fear in everybody. They show up, put more fear in everybody. It's an op.
So, when you describe that there's, guys who are financing and handling very calmly, and one guy gets in and, riles people up, but then he's not there to actually, do anything kinetic, that kind of bespeaks that they're recruiting maybe from online, chat rooms, Reddit, what have you. And they're getting useful idiots. They're literal idiots in a neurological sense, that don't really understand
the same as the president
of what they're doing. They are like, yeah, this is gonna, they create a sense. You create an in-group, out-group sense. And we got to do something with this energy, guys.
Same reason why people join gangs.
Right. Yeah. And, and for them, like, I guess some of these guys to also traffic drugs and make money. But, Zev and I, we get the energy out by doing podcasts and looking up things and to read and interpret for people. And some people want to grab their paintball guns and go into town, but they're too dumb to realize, like, if you come with your bear mace and your paintball gun, somebody may shoot you in the chest. If and they don't realize, like, yeah, we're edgy. It's like, no, you're committing assault, and somebody might discharge a firearm into your torso. And apparently they don't know this. And it seems
they came to play G.I. Joe and found out that doesn't work out well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tragedy, regardless. I mean, someone died, but it is.
I do feel for the kid.
To drive up sentiment in a certain direction, certainly not towards Trump. In fact, if you took the blinders off everybody, they'd be able to see that Donald Trump is in fact provoking all of this, and his supporters are provoking all of this. And this wouldn't be happening if there was no Donald Trump in the White House, which is what we should get. So when Joe Biden goes there tomorrow, I hope he just says, this is an op. You guys are being fooled. And get these guys out of here. They're just a bunch of crazy foreign influenced, maybe foreign paid operatives.
Well, what's good?
I like it.
What's really good is what most people don't know is the FBI is working in the background to get these guys. And now one of the big shooters at the first original Patriot Prayer event down here, a month ago, the big guy that was he's actually a wanted felon, and he wasn't supposed to be here either. He's now being sued for $235 million, I think it is, by a protester. He's now going to wind up. That's another Patriot Prayer Proud Boy member that's going to get wrapped up in federal charges also. So all the guys that are getting arrested here in Portland, they have a connection to any of these groups somehow, some way. They have no connection to Antifa whatsoever.
Interesting.
And I've been hearing that's the same thing going across the country. That all the people that are actually getting arrested for causing the violence, the fires, the whatever, are not Antifa, but members of the Boogaloos, the Proud Boys, or some white supremacist group. That's actually, and the FBI has actually shared this information. The DOJ actually shared this information. We just had 74 arrests here in Portland for the protest over the last month. 90% of them were not Antifa. The rest of them were just your regular anarchist. And there's the difference that most people don't understand is there's a difference between Antifa and anarchist. Trump and his people are trying to conflate the two, and they threw in Black Lives Matter to conflate it even more, that those are all the bad groups.
It's unbelievable what these guys are getting away with. It's unbelievable. I want to leave you with one little thing here. Eric Prince, who's always interesting, shows up suddenly. If I pull up the timeline again, you can see the timing of this is interesting, and I would only point it out because it's of the timeline. Hang on a second. Here we go.
Where is he, by the way?
Who knows?
Is he still in UAE or China?
He just disappeared for a while, and now he's I don't know why he showed up, but he showed up on Brian Kilmeade's
running his
radio
ass off
show.
all over the place.
And so if you look at June 1st was the Bible holding, August 27th, this is a month and a bit later, there's the Kenosha shooting with 17-year-olds shooting two of the protesters of Black Lives Matter, and then there's Eric Prince showing up on August the 28th, I think it says there. The day before, you saw those two tweets from Artem Kalushik, and then on the 30th is the actual shooting in Portland. So let's listen to what Eric Prince told Brian Kilmeade about what he thinks is going on the ground over there.
It seems organized. I've heard that, especially in Portland and Seattle, their radios, they know where to hit, they know how to hit, and they have a plan. That is not somebody who's being overcome with emotional rage. This seems to be separate. Have you been able to separate the two?
Look, I have friends in law enforcement. They say they've wrapped up, gangs of kids that were destroying buildings, torching things, throwing rocks in windows, and then they would take pictures. They would send those pictures to a burner, to a non-traceable phone, and they would then be paid in Bitcoin, in blockchain currency. So someone is paying for that subversion, and I truly hope the feds are swimming up that river and finding who's sponsoring this subversion, because whether it's a political group doing it or a foreign power, that is an attack on America, an attack on the Constitution and our republic.
That's front facing. That's
gonna bite him in the ass.
That's projection.
It's
it's
total projection.
Well, yes, it's projection. Yeah, but that is. You remember when all of a sudden a FISA warrant comes out? Somebody takes the extraordinary measure to release some FISA warrant information about Carter Page in October of 2016. Those are not easy to get a hold of, right? You should, if you ever see one in the wild, you should call the FBI immediately, because that should not be out there. And yet one showed up almost as if to say, hey guys, they kind of maybe have an FBI investigation on us. Yeah, you think, assholes? Well, I've heard from my friends in law enforcement. Yeah, Mr. Prince, like, you got a lot of friends in serious federal law enforcement, like friends. Perhaps interrogators, yes, these days, but friends, okay, maybe. Hey guys, I hear from law enforcement that they're picking up everyone using Bitcoin and burner phones, and that are coordinating. That's getting picked up by law enforcement. Yes, it is, asshole. So that was him telling some of these people down range. Yeah, they might know even.
Bitcoin is traceable, by the way. If you're going to do something on Bitcoin, just remind yourself, it's traceable. It's not some secret currency that no one can track. I'll leave you with that note.
It's the whole purpose of Bitcoin.
Ledger.
It's like a big giant trap, is what Bitcoin is.
Exactly.
I got to quote my man. Let's end it with our man Ralph Sergiani, who says, "It is the dumbest way to do illicit activities, and they are using it everywhere."
Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative, and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe and download.